friends at Tivoli Brewing Company and the Department of Communication Arts and Sciences at MSU Denver, this is Unfiltered. And here are your hosts, Jay Schrader and Dr. Samuel J.
Vic, get your mic. All right, you gotta hold it here. Okay. Yeah. Get in here. Cheers, John. Thanks for having us. I'm very excited about this interview. Is it John Carruthers, I assume?
Yes.
Okay. So John allowed me to come in here late and do this interview. Sans Jay Schrader, but with Vic, cousin Vic. Hey.
Hey,
so
Sam, how's it going?
We got to be in this wedding, right? Mm-hmm. We're obviously clearly very excited about being in the wedding. We planned a brewery interview.
Yeah, bringing a real funeral energy with you.
Exactly right. So, John, address and kind of where are we?
We're in Revolution Brewing.
You can get a little closer. There you go. Get in there.
Revolution Brewing.
Okay.
We're the largest independently owned brewery in the state of Illinois. We have a 90,000-foot production facility you're sitting in and do about 85,000 barrels a year.
Okay. So was this the original location for Revolution, or was there?
No, so this is our production facility and tap room. We started as a brew pub about a mile and a half down the road in Logan Square. This neighborhood is technically Avondale, but our two locations are really close to each other. Okay. The other one is still there, original brew pub, the original system. But in 2012, the demand for the beer was so great that the people running around at the time pulled the trigger on this big production facility, and this is where we make 99% of everything we distribute.
So 2012, like what's going on in Chicago at that time in terms of craft beer? Like what are the names that people might know across the country?
There weren't a ton. The pub opened in 2010, and there was even fewer back then. But I mean, you're talking pre-ABI Goose Island. Rock Bottom was around.
Oh shit, I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Half Acre was around, and they were, I think, still contracting. I don't know. Don't hold me to that. But they opened up their little location, the merch store now, by their tap room in Lincoln Square.
Okay. So, Goose. When did Goose Island get bought out?
2012.
2012.
Yeah.
Okay. So in terms of production, how big is Revolution?
We do about 85,000 barrels a year.
Okay, so that's comparable to. Can you throw some names out there for me?
Sure. So we're the 38th largest, around the size of like Allagash,
okay.
Floyd's, regional breweries like that.
All right.
We distribute to 9 states: Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, and then Tennessee, but really only Nashville right now, and that's the most recent market we opened up.
Damn. All right. How long has the distribution been going on?
Well, since 2012, when I don't know state by state. I can give you that information.
No, you're good.
But it pretty much since 2012. This facility was brought together with packaging in mind. We didn't have any canning or bottling capability over at the pub. So this was the next big play when Revolution was growing up.
How long have you been here?
I've been here for about 20 months.
20 months. Okay.
And my position's a new position. So.
What is your title?
Communications manager.
Oh shit! So you know everything about everything.
No, I think Twitter idiot's more of a Twitter idiot's a better, a more reflective title.
Are you looking for a lot of Instagram filters to put on barrels and stuff like that?
Oh man, we don't do filters.
That's good. Yeah.
Lightroom subscribers over here. We pay Adobe every month to make things look nice.
That's the one benefit of being a college professor is I don't have to pay for Adobe, but I get everything updated every week. So it's kind of nice to have all those tools.
It's a sweet life.
No, it is. I'm not editing this shit with what's the fucking Audacity. I get the whole Adobe suite to make this thing sound good. Because sometimes it sounds like garbage. Not the content, but the brewery gets kind of loud sometimes.
Sometimes the content.
Oh, the content is mostly garbage all the time. So, okay. Well, knowing kind of your expertise, right, and knowing your career as a writer, and you had said you were a food writer and everything. Are you cool just jumping in talking about beer in Chicago?
Yeah, I mean Chicago. A bit late to the beer game compared to the West Coast, a lot of the other places, but we now have the most breweries of any city, and that's pretty wild. I don't know why it took us a little while to get kickstarted, but our Midwestern drinking instincts really kicked in, and now Chicago is like a destination beer city. It's really exciting. from the big guys to like these new and still starting up breweries. I mean, there's just so much interesting, like amazing, thoughtful, experimental beer being produced.
Yeah.
You can't walk 25 feet without running into someone's tap room.
Yeah. How are the kind of old school beer drinkers accepting the new scenery? Is that part of the delay? I guess let me set up the question. I think in Colorado, as much as people bag on Coors has been rather supportive of craft beer, especially, versus Anheuser-Busch. Coors tends to put out a lot of brewers and stuff like that. Was that support system in Colorado, in Chicago, or was there some pushback?
Sure. So we've got the Siebel Institute of Technology. Guerrieri is one of the top brewing schools in the world. Our brewmaster went to Siebel. A lot of people did. What was really interesting is if you look back at the history of Goose Island, just that was like the training ground for so many people. Where our chairman Josh Deeth came from there. Our brewmaster Jim Seaback came from Goose Island. That's where they met. Matt Brendelson at Firestone Walker, John Laffler from Off Color. I mean, it is just this crazy alumni list. And I mean, I think it was there, on the technical side with the brewing school, and once there was sort of the local craft beer scene to really train people up, and people making each other better. I mean, I think that's why it exploded.
Okay. Just knowing that you two are Cubs fans, and I'm assuming you go to Wrigley a time or two in the season.
A time or two.
How's Wrigley's as a stadium? The craft beer offering.
I will give them nothing but praise
Really?
since they took in Fifth City last year.
Okay. Oh, nice.
It was exciting to pay ballpark prices for the beer I get for free at work, because I was like, hey, it's pretty neat.
Yeah, that's the one thing about Coors is their selection is fantastic at Coors Field.
I will say the Chicago White Sox are the undisputed local leader in bringing craft beer.
Really?
They have long had like delicious, diverse offerings. I mean, you can find Hop Butcher for the World down there sometimes, and that is not the easiest can to find, even if you're just going to liquor stores.
Yeah, for sure.
We have a tap room down on the south side for the past 2 years, and it's been cool, being part of baseball and everything.
Yeah.
But Wrigley's catching up, and the way last year finished, you got to have something to drink.
Yeah, that was rough.
I can still find you one of like the 3 old style taps that's left.
Yeah, you know exactly where they are. Oh,
I know where the bleacher one is offhand, and I could probably find you the ones in the main concourse.
That's impressive. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So, explain. You just mentioned multiple tap rooms. What are the laws in Illinois in terms of what a brewery can own? As many as you want.
Back when we first opened Revolution almost 10 years ago, it was a much different scene. We had to file for an appeal because we weren't going to have a parking lot. It's a street. There's no parking. Our building goes to the property line. And at the time, you can really get a brew pub license for that because it's like, oh, it's a restaurant. You should have some parking. And we're right by the CTA stop. We have bike racks in front and everything. But like at the time, it was just like, oh, no one had really thought that maybe this isn't as easy as it could be. Now, you not only have tap rooms, you can bring in guest beverages. Like we have a cider on, we have cans of kombucha.
You have a hard seltzer.
We do not have a hard seltzer.
All right. I just saw that.
Not really hard seltzer weather.
No, but who makes White Claw? They just did you see that story in Brewbound this morning? They just are investing another like $350 million in their production shit. So
it's good.
Yeah, no, it's not.
I mean, make hay before the Zima curse hits you.
Exactly. God. Yeah. So, I guess your background, right? Tell us the story of you and how you got to here.
Sure, like all PR guys, I started as a journalist and turned to the dark side of it.
So this is terrible then. So my interviewing skills are just garbage.
I was a print journalist. You don't want this face on your news.
Okay.
As a journalist, I worked on community newspapers for a while. I worked in medical publishing for a while. I worked in finance for a while, and I actually loved working in finance and was not looking to get a new job, wasn't looking to change things up. And then Revolution created this new position, which is exactly what I do. And I'm like, man, like I got to take a shot, right? My wife is like, yes, go for it. She's a very lovely, supportive lady. So I applied. I was lucky enough to be offered the job, and every day here has been just like so much fun,
so awesome
and amazing. Like it's hard work, We're not working with the team I had in finance. There's one person instead of like 25 people to do like certain things.
Was there a lot of flannel allowed at the finance job?
It was it was surprisingly modern. All our designers had like tattoo sleeves and stuff. they did not care about that.
Okay.
So it was not a white collar look.
Okay. All right. So you get the job, but where did you go to college? You didn't get that job?
I went to college at the University of Tennessee, and that's where I learned journalism. It's where I was an English major, so 4 years of what are you going to do with that?
Yeah.
And then I came back here after my first year in medical publishing. I went to graduate school here locally at DePaul University. Go Blue Demons.
Okay.
And then, so I have a very writing heavy background, but I can social media, there's PR, there's so many things to do in a job like this, at a brewery like this, that it's really like, what do we have time for today?
Well, as somebody who has this is not a brag, this is not even a humble brag, but a PhD in communications, and for my entire life, people are like, what do you do with that? Why? Well, I started a podcast. That's what I did, right? With a PhD and all that student loan debt. I got to start this thing.
Yeah, but honestly, communications has to be number 2 to English for the what are you going to do with that?
I
From
think
your uncle
so.
at Thanksgiving.
I think so, right? But there's something I think that you pointed out: the ability to write, or I guess in my case, my background's in rhetoric. The ability to understand how language persuades for PR, for social media, for everything is kind of invaluable. So if you're looking at, it's interesting to see some of the people who get jobs now in these places for organizations, massive organizations, and what their backgrounds are. And oftentimes it's that persuasive communication type stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I am not a smart man. I am not a good-looking man. But writing can paper over a lot of things.
Yeah.
And, I've got just at what was to me at the time like a dream job when I applied for it. And, learn to write, kids.
What was the beer that you fell in love with that changed everything? Like, I would assume at University of Tennessee you're drinking some garbage beer. Or no?
Gosh, yeah. There was this beer down there called Southpaw, which was like if Natural Light got kicked out of its house and was staying
An illegitimate child.
Was staying in the townhouses behind the Walmart. It was a rough beer for when I couldn't afford something classy like Miller Lite.
Okay. You can cuss on this podcast too. You're fine if you wanted to use more. You don't have to.
I feel like you academic types who are going to be like, oh, it's so much more effective without cursing.
No, academic types. No.
So we drank a lot of shitty beer in college. Busch Light. I still drink Miller Lite. I will not apologize for that. High Life. But the first and I never thought I would be like someone who's into beer, someone who would, sit for the Cicerone test, someone who would know the differences between everything, or who could pick out what he would want just from the style description. And it just kind of it all started honestly with Guinness. Once I got to open myself to drinking something that looked dark and heavy, and it turns out it's light and delicious and wonderful, I was kind of off and running.
Nice.
Yeah. But really, the early half acre beers, Overale and Gossamer, it's adorable now. But when I moved into that neighborhood where Half Acre is in 2008, when they were just opening, I was like, oh man, there's a brewery in my neighborhood. That is crazy. Awesome. I'm going to support these guys, even though I don't think I'm a big craft beer guy. I'm going to give everything a chance. And I used to go get growlers, and they didn't even have growlers back then. They were new open. They had big mason jars, and they would just fill you a mason jar, heat seal it, and be like, yeah, drink that guy quick.
That's gonna get sour quick.
Yeah, it's really it's shielded from the sun.
Exactly.
But it was Overale and Gossamer, and then later Daisy Cutter, that really got me open to drinking local beer. I used to make Flemish Carbonate or chili or something, and I would do a little one for you, one for me with the pot.
Yeah.
And that was a good way to just learn while doing something else I liked. Then once Revolution opened, Anti-Hero just took the entire city by storm. I was like, wow, I didn't know pale ale could taste IPA could taste like this. Yeah. And a few years later, and still the beer that I drink the most here, Fist City or American Pale Ale, I just can blow through that beer. It's so delicious and easy drinking. When I first started working here, I'm like, I bet I won't I'm gonna be working at the brewery, I'm gonna get all this stuff and try all this crazy new stuff. I bet I won't drink Fist City anymore. And now it's just what I bring a case of home, every paycheck.
I'm gonna have to have a Fist City before we leave.
It's kind of funny you say that, because I feel like everyone has that. He asks that question all the time about what your favorite beer is that got you into it, and no one's any of these new fancy beers or stouts, or they always go to beers like pale ales, Fist City, you know, I'm Allagash White for me. So like
Allagash White,
just
is
those
my favorite beers.
Just those beers, like, and they stand the test of time. You know, like the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale is another one. It's like
a great beer.
The beers that are still here, you know, they've been here for 10, 15, 20 years. Like, I bet you in 20 years, if you ask the same question to people, you'll get a very similar answer.
That's actually a really good way to segue to the question I was going to ask next, which is thoughts on New Belgium. What's the conversation on that happening?
Oh, I mean,
Chicago.
I'm happy that the employee owners made their decision and got richly compensated for it. I mean, that's good. You know, you get set up in a Kieran 401k, you get made, you know, you get your years of hard work. I mean, it's something tactile and tangible. So I hope they keep making like the new. I hope they keep making all their beers that they're making now, because like their sour program, the Ranger Series, like they just make nice, interesting, like good, easy to drink, easy to find beer, and like I'm sure Kieran knows enough to not really try to change that.
What's the business part of craft beer look like here that you see in terms of, I don't want to say buyouts, but yeah, it's a, you know, I guess in Colorado, craft beer is a much bigger part of the conversation than it is in a lot of parts in the country. Mm-hmm. And I think we take that for granted as beer drinkers. Is, I mean, the fact that New Belgium getting bought out as the front page of the Denver Post, like that's fucking crazy, right? Like, but people like, you know, it's huge. It's the week after Coors moves everything here, and beer in Colorado is big. Is craft beer and craft beer business something that really kind of holds the conversation?
I mean, it does locally, but I always wonder, as like both a Twitter guy and as like someone in the industry, how much people like us who are interested in this stuff like are in our own kind of little bubble where it's news to us and everyone else is like, eh. You know, it's just like how jazz guys can name the drummer on every Charlie Parker album, and you're like, you could be making these up, and I have no idea. But you know, I think people are generally aware, you know, that something big's happening. Whether casual drinkers make much of the distinction between like craft beer and corporate, you know, like conglomerate-owned craft, I'm not sure.
Is craft beer able to grab more of that percentage of beer drinker, you think, as the years move forward? Are we moving more towards the craft, or does it kind of go more towards, I guess, the White Claw and the hard seltzer?
Well, I mean, you know, people give ABI a lot of guff, but like every indication, you know, from you know, the way they acquire, the way that they market, the way that they take a lot of these brands national, you know, indicates that that's what they think. And I mean, that's the number one beer company in the world, thinking that Americans will continue to have, you know, a continued appetite and passion for craft. Yeah. And here we see that a lot here in Chicago, like super local, super fresh. I mean, I know people who won't drink an IPA after like 2 weeks, you know, and we'll just be like, it's stored cold, but it's like 3.5 weeks old, and I'm like, oh god, we just ruin ourselves here, you know.
Oh my god, I can imagine. Yes, Jesus, we were at Odd 13 the other night, and they canned us like their new triple IPA that isn't even out yet, and they canned some cans for Jay and I, and just I mean, it's just like you get spoiled. You get
so spoiled. Like you're like, man, that's what's so cool about beer. You know, it's so ephemeral. It's a time and a place and a point that isn't to be replicated, and like you can't. You know, you can't keep it, you can't save it. You just taste a beer like that, and you're like, man, beer does not taste like that for very long. It's such a cool thing. I still am like, wow.
It's going to be nice to party with you this weekend, because we get to not drink much Miller Lite. Just split our sixer of, you know, whatever. You know.
Here, let me step away for a second.
Yeah, go for it. All right. So, I guess you as a beer consumer.
Yeah.
What have you seen change living here your whole life in terms of craft beer?
I feel like the people that drink, you know, the Miller Lights and the MGDs and the Bud Lights like 4 or 5 years ago, they were like so dismissive. Yeah. They were like, I don't want to. What is that craft beer stuff? You know, mm-hmm. It's kind of like what a craft beer person now is like. Oh, what's that seltzer? Yeah. You know, that attitude. But a couple, you know, in the last year or two, they've started to drink like things like Fist City and pale ales and stuff. You know, because they understand it's not. It's just a better tasting beer, you know. But it's not super complex like, you know, stouts or IPAs. But it's just almost a better version of, you know, their beer they're used to drinking.
What's the easy leap for a macro beer drinker to a craft beer? Is it an IPA? Is it an APA? Is it what have you seen? I guess, I mean, you just said it was Allagash wheat. The people who come in here that you have to talk to, right?
It just depends. And some people don't know themselves, but some people do like a stout. They like some little roastiness, a little residual sweetness. Sometimes they do just like a craft pilsner or an APA. The thing that we've found lately with our Freedom of Speech and like Freedom Sour series is that like those easier kettle sours are a huge door opener for someone who's like a wine fan or someone who wants like a low calorie kind of beverage, something light and refreshing. It really just depends on the person. We pour a lot of little samples and have that what do you like conversation. Our bartenders are fantastic about that.
Do they get trained in that, or they just kind of, you hire people who know it already?
Yeah, I mean, they get trained, but I think a lot of times like they're just very good people at like reading, a customer and kind of figuring out, well, what are they giving me? What can I kind of deduce might work for them. It also helps that we have 20 beers on tap, so like if I choose a random 4, you're likely to find something cool.
It's pretty impressive, by the way. What are you seeing in terms of trends in the beer drinker here in Middle America? Is anything surprising you, or what are you seeing kind of take off now?
I mean,
that's not seasonal, I guess.
I don't know if this is everywhere in the Midwest, but people are still mad for barrel age and hazy, like the two very big recent trends. But honestly, that Freedom of Speech, we made that sour series into a year-round. I think it started as a seasonal, and it kind of shot up the chart. I mean, it's one of the top 10 sour beers nationally, and again, we're only in 9 states.
Yeah,
people like that, whether it's like the low calorie, whether it's kind of the fruit forward, or there's that like kind of sweet sweetness with a little tart punch at the end. People dig that. But yeah, I mean, we've been trying a lot of new stuff with hazies. We have 10 beers in our barrel age program that runs from October to January, sorry. And then we released barley wine in July because people just cannot get enough barley wine.
Tell me about this barrel program. Has it always been here, or is this a new thing? I mean, I'll take some pictures and make sure we put them on the socials, but that's fucking nuts.
Sure. So, at the pub, there was never really time or space to do barrel stuff. Like, we could have a barrel there, but it'd be like a barrel. Part of the reason that they wanted to move over here was not just to bottle and can, but to also like start a barrel program in earnest. And I mean, that's something with years of lead time. You're finding different supply chains for barrels. You're finding out what beers work, which beers don't. You are aging them. You're looking 2 and 3 and 4 years down the road to, all right, we have this. We're going to put this in the tanks. We're going to put all this here. All these barrels are meticulously numbered. They have their own characteristics. There's so much spreadsheet work in brewing that, like, I guess casual fans will never know about. But my God, I see spreadsheets in my sleep. I don't even brew.
God, I was looking at brewers at Tivoli yesterday. I looked at their sales numbers, and it was just mind-boggling. Because one of them's like a MS in math, so we can like visualize all of this stuff. It's just fucking nuts, like how they make those decisions. Oh, we got to brew this today.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But we have a barrel program lead. His name is Marty Scott. Okay. He's a great Twitter follow at Rev Barrels.
At Rev Barrels, okay.
But he really makes the barrel program into like the thing it is today. I mean, we just released a 2-year-old rye wine, which like a bit of an obscure style, right? But it was called VSOR, very special old rye way. We put VSO on things that are aged like 2+ years.
Okay.
And we had X amount, because you can only make so much 2-year-old beer. There's just only so much space. And we thought, well, okay, people have lined up for this release. If everyone in line gets the 2 4-packs they can get, we'll sell out between 6:30 and 7:30. And that beer was gone at 6:34 p.m. It was wild. Like Marty has this amazing knack for, making beers and taking, pulling the complexities out of different barrels from different producers, blending that all into these really compelling, cool beers that are still very balanced, I think we've all had that barrel-aged stout that is just like cake batter that you just don't want to drink, more than 2 ounces of. Yeah. But Marty turns out these really cool, compelling beers that, I mean, even as breweries open down the street like all the time, people still come here because they want these like Rev barrel-aged beers because it's something unique. It's not something you can just you can't just throw something into a barrel and have it go. Like the complexity that like Jim Seaback and Marty and Glenn Allen, our brewery manager, managed through this program is just wild.
That's pretty cool. Are you doing any experimentations? Like, just as, let me walk this back. Where is the experimentation happening?
I'm glad you asked that. Because, so, some of these barrels, you're going to get them in all sorts of conditions. We have a very good supplier, but occasionally you get barrels that leak. They drip, and you can't have that because leaky beer means leaking on the floor. That's something that fruit flies will get to. It'll spread infection. It's not great. So what Marty does is when he finds a leaky barrel, he'll order a new fresh barrel, and he'll put the remainder of the leaking barrel into there before we destroy the old barrel. So that won't fill up the headspace. So what he does is he combines some of these barrels into new blends, kind of alike barrels. So these are all double barreled. They're all completely unique blends, never to be replicated. We call it the Sanctuary program. He titles each one of them, gives it a name, talks about the unique contents, and then we put it on draft at our releases, and those are all single barrel beers. Yeah. You come, you have it, and it's never going to be on again. We couldn't make it again exactly like that if we tried. It's amazing. Yeah. So it's kind of cool, and it's kind of refreshing in that, barrel-aged beer is a very, collect and save and trade thing. This is another thing, like I was talking about with that super fresh beer off the line, where it's like, you can have the experience right now, you can have this moment, and then it's gone, and you just
crack it. We didn't do a cheers, by the way.
Cheers.
Get in there. What do you have to do this afternoon? You got a wedding to go plan, or what is it?
No, we have a fundraiser here called We Are Family. So this is our second annual Pride fundraiser. What we do with it is there's a local social service nonprofit called Chicago House and Social Service Agency. Excuse me. No cough button.
You're good.
What they do is they provide social services like job support, supportive housing, tenancy, healthcare counseling to people with HIV and AIDS who are chronically homeless or marginalized or wouldn't be able to get this kind of care elsewhere. Okay. So what we do is, last year we had a special beer on tap. It was the first year to do that. This year we've actually canned a beer called Freedom of Expression. It's another kettle sour with strawberry and rhubarb. Okay. And tonight all the draft pours of that and all the 4-packs of it are going to go directly to Chicago House. We also have a silent auction with some really cool stuff. We got like a Girl on the Go chef's table. We're auctioning off a private tour with Marty and all the beers from this year's Deepwood series in like one big package. Silent auction, we've got some music. It's just one big fundraiser for like a local organization that's really, really deserving that we're happy to work with.
Does this space get used a lot for those kind of big events? I mean,
and we also do weddings here, and we do weddings over at the brew pub in the second floor. Between this time of year with the a one barrel age release a month, it's a pretty busy time here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got a question?
Yeah, on the barrel age series. So I feel like a couple years ago, you guys did something that really changed by putting them in 12-ounce cans. Mm-hmm. Can you walk us through maybe kind of the thought process for that? Because before that, a lot of people were like, they need to be in bombers, right? Like everyone was like, barrel-aged beers are in bombers, and then I feel like you guys are one of the first to do it in cans. I've seen a couple other breweries do it recently, and it seems like it's really appreciated by the consumer.
Yeah. Part of that is, of course, it's great to like be able to open one yourself and share it with someone, or even kind of take it down yourself and not have to worry about 22 ounces of beer that you can't reseal. We actually did have bombers when we opened here. There was a bottling line right here, and we were, putting everything in cans and putting some things in bombers. And then after a couple of years, they invested in this new KHS filler you see right behind you. That is a German-engineered, absolute top-of-the-line machine. It gets us the lowest total package oxygen, like super low numbers that we could have never realized before. But for a while, it was like Anti-Hero, Fist City, Sun Crusher, all in cans. But then we were still using this, fairly entry-level bottle filler to fill bombers for like the most special, expensive, like crazy beers that we make. And we thought, well, wait, like, why don't we package those, with the same care and the same, oxygen numbers as, every other beer that comes out of Rev. But like you're saying, at the time, it wasn't something a lot of people were doing. So, there was, I'm sure, some trepidation. But like right from the start, people loved it. They loved the format. They loved being able to, like one of the fun things to do is just our barrel-aged beers come in 4-packs. You buy the 4-pack, you drink one right away, and then you can wait 3 months, and then wait 3 months, and then wait, and see how it opens up and develops. And then by the time it happens, we're releasing that beer again.
How old is this canning device?
The canning line?
Yeah, the canning line.
I believe it came in with the expansion in 2015, where we added the big fermenter tanks to the back of the building and increased our capacity.
What was here before? Was it just open space?
There was a different canning. Canning line, and then there was a bottle filler kind of right here.
That's impressive. You don't see that very often.
Yeah, this wall wasn't even here. You would literally just come into the tap room, and there was just a chain link fence here separating the brewery from the. But it turns out people like air conditioning, so.
It's overrated. Before we wrap up, because I didn't even ask this question. You're the communications guy. What is the Revolution brand? Like if you could do a pitch in 30 seconds to a minute.
I mean, it's whatever the Revolution means to you. At the heart, it's making great beer accessible for everybody. Okay. It's about having another place to go outside the home that's welcoming and inviting and non-judgmental and just a fun, positive place. But really, I think the best answer is like Revolution is the people who work here. I know you're only getting to talk to me right now, but every person who works here, has an amazing, unique story, and they all contribute to like working at a place we're all very proud to be employed by. I realize that's a very company man answer, but sometimes I feel cheesy about this place.
No, I was thinking too, the visuals, right? I mean, is the comic book thing always part of it? Is that a new spin-off? Is that always there? Because there's some stuff, even upstairs, right? There's that.
We do a series of beers called the Hero Series, where we will create a new beer to feature like one kind of hop. It's not a single hop beer, but it's built to feature, say, Cashmere Hero, Galaxy Hero.
So like
stuff like that,
and smash beer, is that what they're called? Where like they just single malt, single hop.
Yeah, it's not that. They write our brewers write and execute a new recipe for everything, because some hops work better with different malt profiles, different water treatments and all that. But yes, the visual look, we've had the same designer Ian pretty much since the beginning. A very distinctive, bold, graphic treatment, and yeah, it's worked well for us. We're all at heart like comic book and sci-fi nerds.
No, totally understand. A lot of brewers are. I get it.
I have never met a brewery that didn't have a heavy metal poster in it either.
Shit, isn't it? Well, I see a lot of Grateful Dead posters too. The ones that I go to, right? There's this mix of death metal and a lot of just marijuana smoking, usually. So it happens.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of breweries test for that.
Exactly, you can't.
Not ones with a whole workforce.
Yeah, there's no way. So knowing that you and I have to go do wedding stuff, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I guess maybe just in a minute or two, kind of where do you see like the next 2 to 3 years of Revolution going?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Times are getting tougher out there for craft brewers, as everyone knows. But we're going to hit that 10-year mark, and I mean that's just wild because it seemed like yesterday that Revolution. I mean, even before I was opening, I was like, oh yeah, that's that new soon-to-be open brew pub. It's really hard to predict the future, but we've really tried to build this thing to sustain. I think you'll continue seeing more hazy beers from us. We just introduced a year-round hazy. The barrel program is only getting better. It's infuriating every time you praise one of the beers to Marty. He's like, hey, yeah, that's pretty good, but wait till next year, because those beers are already in the barrels and they're something amazing. So, I think that's what it is for the next couple of years. Just like wait till next year. It's good now and it's going to get great.
Your answer?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Okay, all right. Well, John, cheers. Thank you so much.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for these wonderfully fresh beer. Good Lord. It's a good beer. All right. Yeah. Cheers, gents. Thanks, buddy. That was good.
Yeah.